Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Ever since I got logged in properly to our Zoom account, I get a lot more functionality when I sign in here. I can pause the recording. It gives me Tag App Delivery as my name when I sign on. FYI.
You know how they like to say it. Once you do it right, it actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah, as always, give people a couple of minutes to join. You have the meeting notes in the chat. Feel free to add yourself to the list of attendees. I have to excuse myself. I can only try and join the first half of the meeting today for personal reasons, but there's obviously Jennifer here as well, so we have other hosts. That's why I appreciate having the first agenda item. And obviously willing to catch up via video and offline. All right. Yeah, I already a couple of minutes in here, and I would like to use the time efficiently because there's actually a lot on the agenda today. Yeah, just quickly looking at the agenda, what do we have planned for today? Obviously, you have the agenda document. In the future, if you want to discuss something, feel free to just add it to the agenda document ahead of time. First one is discussing application definitions, which I will briefly speak about. Then we have the review for cluectl. I hope I pronounced it properly. And then our KubeCon activities, which we have planned for KubeCon EU to give some updates and where we stand on those. I'd then like to kick it off and make the first part actually brief, that we have enough time for the organizational topics. So in the agenda, you will find a link to something that actually started out as a blog post initially for some of them, for a topic that we kind of ran into, and then I shared it with Tag App Delivery and other people, and it then eventually triggered more interest than I initially anticipated. So what is the proposal basically about? As the name suggests, the question is, does Kubernetes need, or why we think Kubernetes needs an application object, or the Kubernetes API needs an application object. Short background on this one. When we were working, we found out while we have deployments available in other components, there is no distinct object that defines all the components an application really consists of, like an overall description. This is everything that makes up an application. There are certain approaches that are available today. One is obviously the well-defined or the recommended labels in Kubernetes. By the way, I now figured out who was actually working on it. It's actually our TSC liaison was Matt Farina who worked on this and provided me some input already on this one, and also shared the document with him. There are some challenges with the labels. The first one, like we ran into, also from an observability perspective, it's not really possible to figure out whether actually all components have been deployed successfully. I think you have a typo in there, it doesn't get deployed, the component is not there, then you don't see the labels. It's obviously also not possible to reuse like components and services between different application versions. And you like really need to go like each and individual component in there. There's other approaches that some of them are already listed in the document. Like obviously there is something like an application definition in Argo, which points to a repo, but then pretty much assumes that the application definition exists outside of Kubernetes, but you kind of don't know it inside of Kubernetes. There's no easy way to query it to link metrics to it. As well, also one example, like I want to get the health of an application. Is an application healthy or unhealthy? Or even want to react by events to certain things in the lifecycle. Like when is an application healthy is obviously a good one and ready to be scheduled. Think of like readiness and health probes, but like on the bigger scale that you can subscribe to and interact with. And yeah, long story short is there are certain approaches. We think this could actually mean more work. There's also now a link in there to SIG apps that was working on this a while back, but that work then kind of stalled at some point. And well, what started more or less out as a blog post initially now became something that more people are interested in. And for me, this is like really testing the waters. Is this something other people think does make sense as well? Do you see that this problem exists, or do you think it is actually solved and not really a problem that you're having, or just do you have other ideas about it? How do we want to further drive this forward? This is pretty much a working document, so feel free to comment on it, give it a read. I'm not expecting, obviously we make it open as a Q&A here. I'm not expecting everybody to read it right now, so that's maybe something to collect the feedback in the next tag meeting then. Yeah, that's it basically about the first point and the very short version.
Can I ask one short question?
You can ask also a long question.
Okay, so I'm wondering what the scope of that object would be. Would it be just monitoring and grouping, or would it also do something with the grouped resources that belong to that application? So would it need a controller that does something, or would it be just a grouping for, yes, that monitoring?
The way we are using it right now, by we I mean the team of the Captain project, because we have an implementation of this, it does actually both. It's on the one hand monitoring, like one thing it enables us to do is more or less create a trace and say that some components, for example, failed to install. But we also take care, for example, by even like having a control and even looking into a scheduler, because you might want to have certain things executed in a certain order, for example. You could argue you don't need it in Kubernetes. If the pod's not ready and doesn't work, it crashes. Yes, but it's not nice to have your login service crash just because the SSL certificate is not yet ready. You could have waited 2 or 3 minutes. We are also using the events like that the workload is ready to, for example, check, to like run a synthetic test and check whether it's actually working. Think about it that way. You want to do an end-to-end test of all the components, and you want to verify whether your login is working, which goes across 15 services. So you want to wait until everything is like kind of up and running. So to also create events there, and do also the same that you might like postpone the scheduling or even intercept it. Like you realize, okay, you want to upgrade an application, but the current version that you're running is not healthy right now, or you might even run into constraints, like one version where we're using it, you're outside of your allowed SLO, outside of your SLO. So now it's actually not a good time to deploy or otherwise reasons why I want to do it. So The short answer is both. We started it with like the observability pieces in mind, but we had certain use cases where we're also looking to actively intercept what's going on there.
Sounds interesting. I'd just be a little bit worried that too much stuff gets involved. For example, you mentioned the scheduler already. Think there could be a lot of stuff that would have to interact, which usually doesn't interact in the Kubernetes setup. Or just some random thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we started out honestly really with observability and just knowing which components are there, and at least assigning health checks to them. Just think about it this way: this is something you would immediately want to do. Like, give me a health check for when I think that whole thing is actually there.
Yeah.
Or like for a blue-green deployment, I want to switch over. I think we have kind of taken it to an extreme, and I think we are not yet at the point to say what the application definitions all should be capable of actually doing. But health checks for me are, I think, very natural. Like health checks and readiness checks on a scale that goes beyond a single service would be something that's really going to be useful there.
Yeah. Did you think about namespace boundaries?
The typical tech answer, it depends. From what we learned in the past, we were like very much looking into like limiting stuff to namespaces, realizing that it doesn't necessarily always work.
Yeah.
Especially when you have shared services and shared components, then you would have to actually go beyond namespace boundaries.
I think that's one of the best examples for why we needed application definition, because namespaces is exactly the point where we are starting to lose developers. When we ask them, is it one namespace, two namespaces, how do we want to divide things? That's a concept which is really core of Kubernetes and less about code. That's exactly where we start to talk about, is it application or not application?
And also the example that not every component that is part of your application is under your control.
Yeah.
Think also of a third-party service that you're using. Say you we created a DNS route, which is kind of part of our application, but maybe not under our control. Or we're using a third-party service. We're using a messaging service that's used by others as well. We needed to have the application work properly, but we're not even responsible for actually deploying it. So you might even say this application cannot be deployed because certain prerequisites in the cluster do not even exist.
So you would kind of add a health check that somehow figures out if that DNS configuration is working.
For example, yes.
Okay.
Through the application. I mean, it could be a simple synthetic test and also checking, okay, if they have a dependency on another service that is running in that cluster, or might even be running totally externally, and saying, okay, this service is not available, so the entire application kind of is not ready to work right now.
I think that might be one of the better example for why we need application definition, because we need a wider health check than only checking the pod itself and only checking that everything doesn't have diff with GitOps. Like a place to do declare those synthetic checks will just start to say this is the whole application.
Another thing that came to my mind is application the correct name for that? Because I would assume that it's not always an application that you are talking about that you want to group together. But talking about names is always difficult, so maybe we should not go too much into that discussion, just as that random thoughts.
Yeah, maybe there's another name. We just started off with applications for the time being. The most important thing for me right now would be that we agree that that there is a problem that is worth solving. Yeah. And then again, like, okay, then we like all the problems that we're solving exactly to your point, and say, okay, these are the ones we can easily solve, where we have not that much dependency on other things being solved, but it has already value. And then agree on like working on those. I just wanted to really kick this off because it has been bothering us for a while now. There was already work, so we're not the first ones ever thinking about it. because there, I think there's a link in the document, and there is a link in the document, but it's not in the agenda, about the work that was actually done by SIGAPS. But I think they're all good questions. I think they're all very valid. So what could be the outcome of this? Like if we agree, okay, it doesn't really matter because there are enough ways to do it, then we might just say, okay, let's put this all into a blog post or maybe a white paper. That would be one potential outcome. Another outcome would be, yeah, we're actually missing something here in Kubernetes and there's enough people who are interested in like working on it and coming up with an idea. Then this would then eventually transition into becoming a working group with the clear charter to come up with something that's used. Very importantly, I think once we have an idea, we also need to reach out to all the projects within the CNCF that would be at least that would have a dependency or that would see an impact from this actually being done. Like if Argo is not going to use it, if Flux is not going to use it, if it's not being used as part for also maybe as part of service meshes, depending on what we want to define, then it's not going to be super helpful. Yeah, Backstage as well, and others. So that's. But I think right now it's really agreement. Yes, this is the problem we agree that actually exists. We agree that existing solutions are not exactly what we want them to be, or we need them to evolve, and then we take it from there. So that's. I just wanted to put it into writing that we have something to really discuss about, bring up these points.
Pretty interesting that you mentioned Backstage, Alois, because Backstage has this concept of an entity which is declared statically with like a catalog info in your repo. And then basically it, you put down that one anchor and then it crawls the rest of your Kubernetes stuff. But it's not the best source of truth, maybe, I don't know, we could debate that. But if we had an application spec in Kubernetes, Backstage could create an entity based on that. That'd be kind of nifty.
I think that's the heart of our problem right now, because we use Argo CD, we use Backstage. So we now have two definitions for the same thing. And we have the Backstage entity, we have the Argo CD application, we have the GitHub repository itself with a Helm chart. And we have synthetics checks somewhere else completely not in line with that. And yeah, like a lot of projects solve that problem, but no one glued that together.
Yeah, I think these are good examples, and Omar, also if we'd like to post them in there as well. Again, I shared the document right now to not have like too many editors on it. If you want edit rights, simply request them. I just want to make it publicly editable because that makes tracking usually a bit hard. I mean, you can obviously propose changes, but if you think you want to like edit something in, just let me know and you get edit rights out of it. Okay, yeah, let's put it on the agenda for the next time. Bring your questions, throw in some of your comments, and we'll get in a more detailed discussion on this one. But at least we're having a discussion right now, which is already a good sign. If it would be all clear and everybody would say, yeah, why are we even talking about this? So good first step. Mm-hmm. Okay, if there's no more immediate comments, I would give other people the chance to talk about it. And next topic on the agenda is, you call it cluectl?
Yeah, cluectl, or some people call it cluectl, whatever you like.
This was added, I guess, just to introduce you, Alex. This the technical oversight committee reviewed Sandbox projects yesterday, and they had some recommendations for Alex. So he's coming to us to just briefly talk because it was last minute. So yeah.
So the current state of the project is I submitted an application as a sandbox project. It rightly got postponed for missing contributions because I'm kind of the sole contributor right now, which I'm trying to change at the moment. So I'll reapproach CNCF in the future at some point in time. But there's still one pull request opened in the potato delivery scenarios.
Okay.
Repository, which kind of showcases it and allows to compare it to other solutions, which are also in the delivery folder in that project. And it would be really cool if some reviews would be possible. And best thing, of course, to merge it actually. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring to this meeting today. And regarding reapplication, as said, I will reapproach CNCF and the tag app delivery in the future regarding that.
Yeah, I think the pull request, Josh. Obviously, you always as a reviewer if it's Potato Head. Yeah, I think
I did a lot of Potato Head for a
yeah.
while. It looks very cool,
Yeah.
Alex. Yeah, I just have to get down and run it. I'll try to get to that, or somebody
Yeah, I
else
think-
can review and just sign off.
Yeah, I mean, I trust that it's running, but I think we just have a quick look at it, how it's actually running, and maybe give you some feedback. But I don't see any reason why not to merge it. I mean, that's the whole idea behind the project.
Yeah, I tried to document it as good as possible. Try to split it up in commits, all the different changes. There's a test also running, so it does all this stuff automatically while running the workflow. If you have questions or it's not running for whatever reason locally, just ping me.
And any other help from tech at delivery, like regarding the Sandbox application? It was I didn't watch the last Sandbox meeting, to be fair. What were the main questions really about, like getting contributors?
Yeah, so it's two things. One thing is getting adopters. This is happening slowly, of course. It's still a fresh project. And bound to that is also contributors. So I'm doing all this alone. I don't kind of have a company behind me to promote it to other colleagues or something like that. So it's, of course, hard to get contributors. So if stuff changes, if more people come in, I'll reapply.
Thank you for the contribution, and this is a good place to at least let people know you're looking for contributors. So
yeah,
thanks.
Nice.
We had already a presentation, I think, about.
Yeah, we had a presentation in November, but I would say it didn't go so well. Participation was not that good at that point in time. Josh was missing, for example, and I was completely unprepared, making it a very chaotic presentation. So
I mean, what we could do if we want to do maybe next time to a short 10-minute maybe walkthrough, even of the Potato Head example, because obviously the meeting recordings are sent out and not everybody can obviously join the meetings due to other time commitments that people have.
Yeah.
Then we have the Twitter account, we could share it out as well, maybe with as it was presented. So that gives you at least more visibility that you have right now. I think there's nothing against doing this. I mean, finding people that help on a project who might be interested in sharing it is also what we can do as a tech to support you. I would just keep it short because people don't watch a half an hour type of presentation usually.
Yeah.
So you have to get them excited in 10 minutes, and then we have almost catching two birds with one stone. We have the review of we see the Potato Head example that you're running, and at the same time you have a video where you can showcase the project again in a way that you're also comfortable with and sharing with the entire internet.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. There's if people are already interested, there is a video recording with the Raw Code Academy YouTube channel. I linked it in the agenda when we did the November call. So you can look it up there. But yeah, it's just I just need to prepare. That's what I learned from the last time.
Yeah, totally
just
fine. So
just showing random code doesn't work.
Yeah, just the offer is there. We're more than happy obviously to support you, and just let us know you're ready when you're ready. So that's really.
I'll take it. I'll ping you maybe for the next meeting already. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Next one is KubeCon. Thomas, I guess, is the best one to talk about.
Yes. So many of us are at KubeCon this year. So in Amsterdam. And we as a tech, we applied for several activities. So at first we applied for a project meeting, which is approved. So we will have a 4-hour project meeting where we can discuss some things. The second thing we have is we will have a booth. So there will be a pavilion of us in the maintainer space, and yes, some people of us should be there to be able to talk with the people and so on. And the third thing we also have is a maintainer track talk where Jennifer, Josh, and me will talk about anything we are doing here, hopefully. Yes, so there's much things around KubeCon. And what I would like to discuss today is what you, so every one of you, would expect from a tag to do at a project meeting or on the booth. So what would you like to see there? Because then we can plan it somehow. And if you want to volunteer for some of the activities, you're always free to also, we are also more than happy to see you there. Josh, I think you have ideas around the project meeting, right?
Yeah, I put a bunch of stuff down in both areas. I've been thinking about this a lot. Yeah, because we could, I mean, I love these events because they're like, it's like you all are my coworkers and I don't ever get to see you. And here's the one chance. And it really facilitates work later in the year. That's how I see this stuff. So I mean, Thomas mentioned, you know, we could talk about our work in progress, you know, the platform's work or operators work. But I was also thinking like it might be a good place, you know, we have a lot of maintainers, project maintainers here, just to learn the latest, like a 5 to 7 minute, what's the latest that you've you know, added to Argo, or the latest, you know, project that you've created to do a portal or do an API. I mean, we're all pretty advanced, so like we don't need like a half-hour introduction to containers and Kubernetes, but like if we could just get that like 5 to 10 minute, like here's the latest and greatest that I want you all to know about, you know, that would be pretty cool. So that was one of, you know, I wanted to put that out there. If maybe we mix it up, a little bit of review of the tags work and a little bit of like, let's get, you know, a series of 5 maintainers or leaders to you know, spend 5 or 7 minutes to talk about something, you know, really concrete. That's my idea.
Well, just thought after you said that, like, that meeting up, since we have this opportunity, that's really great. We've been wanting to have like a roadmap for the tag for a while. We could like brainstorm that as well, and like as an objective to come up with some, at least like headers of maybe, yeah, elaborating, even if we have time, like something, and yeah, use that time to be good to do that too.
Yeah, actually on that, like maybe we talk about, I've been wanting to kind of do this, like review together the objectives of the tag. Like I think our objectives are serve our users, serve our projects, advance conventions and standards. But like maybe we could do that, make sure we're all aligned on our objectives.
Yeah, I think it might also be good timing, and we have a charter. I don't know who actually read the charter or when it was the last time we looked at the charter. I'm always surprised about all the things that are in the charter when I haven't been looking at it for like a year or so. But there's like, I think maybe combining this like what you said, Josh, but also you, Jennifer, like work on a roadmap, go with the objectives, see where we're contributing and what we're going to contribute there. I think it's also going to help us. I think it can't be like a 4-hour meeting, and we have to be also aware that we are competing with all the other KubeCon sessions, which is always a challenge. So what I ideally like to do, and what we could get from the CNCF, to break it down into individual sections. And it's not like one big 4-hour maintainer block that people can join on topics that they're actually, that they're interested in, that they know when they're on the agenda. So that's what I might want to try, because people they type into the search stuff that they were interested about. They type in GitOps, they type in, I don't know, like operators, whatever we're going to look in, or platform engineering. And then we would have dedicated points in there. That might be something that I do. I think we will not see a lot of people joining a 4-hour project meeting. But if you have a part of that and the work you're already doing, or the driving to, like with the bigger group, Josh, on the whole platform topic. Then we do one, maybe an application definition if this kind of comes up, or other topics we have. And then one dedicated for, as we are there, like really working on roadmap and other topics. But I would assume that this is rather a smaller round. And honestly, also like to back to Alexander's point, or like actively invite projects to talk to us. Also people who might want to submit sandbox, which are not yet there. I think it really boils down to, can we break it down into smaller sessions? I mean, technically we can, because the platform can do it. The question is, can we do it from the CNCF, and what will those sessions be? So that's kind of my input there.
Sorry, I don't know like exactly how this works, but like on the 17th, there's a project meeting and we have 4 hours, and during the conference, the rest of the conference, we have a booth, and then it's like we gather there whenever we want. Is that how it works? Okay, because I think I might not be on time for the 17th, because it's not the day of the conference, right? It's like the conference starts on the 18th, but the 17th is like
that's the pre-day event day, or the 0 day.
Yeah.
But I still, yeah, but I still think I still think that's a good idea, because the people who will potentially be, you know, part of discussions on certain topics might still have like the 0 day tickets and might want to go to different 0 day events and see different talks. So just having that visible, I just see, like, if I wasn't in this tag and doing stuff, I would like to have had that on the schedule so I could more easily plan stuff. So if that is possible to break that up into some sort of chunks on different topics, I think that would help a lot.
Publish a schedule essentially, so you know when you want to come.
Yeah, more or less. Just so we, you know, when we look at the entire day, you can kind of like pick and choose. And one of the things you could choose is part 4 of Tag App Delivery.
Is there a GitOps something or other happening at KubeCon?
Not officially, but at the same time, yes. So the GitOps con got shifted to the Open Source Summit. But there, the last thing I heard is that we have some sort of opportunity to do something.
But
I mean, I'd love for you all to work with us. I think there's a huge overlap. So
but
like,
I heard somewhere that they also applied for a project meeting and so on. But
Yes.
I'm not sure if this was the working group or Open GitOps.
So yeah, just
fact,
so,
it's the
so
same.
if we could split stuff up, it would be very nice for a lot of us, because we have divergent interests all over the place. So it's kind of hard to just like set up 4 hours to do one thing and then kind of miss something else.
that's interesting actually too. Like we could, like GitOps, if you wanted to split off, like if we wanted to discuss app delivery generally, like CDF is another one that comes to mind for me. Like it's another group working on app delivery, but not quite us. Maybe we gather together, and then, you know, there's a track for GitOps and a track for platforms and a track for, I don't know, other projects over the next couple hours.
Right, and if we can talk about that in the Open GitOps meeting. I don't think there's anything concrete planned as of yet. But if, for instance, Tag App Delivery were to talk about something related to GitOps, you could arrange so we could kind of like merge together at some point. Like we're not going to go together and talk about this particular thing that is you know, hitting both GitOps specifically, but Tag App Delivery in general.
Robert, could you please try to find out if the GitOps working group or Open GitOps has some event on at KubeCon?
I can find that out. I know there are talks on what to do with some sort of time that was alluded, like we got some time to do something. I just
Because
don't
if
know
they-
what the plan is.
If they don't have anything, they are still a working group under the tech app delivery. Therefore, they should also have time as the platform working group to present something or do something.
Yeah.
But if they have their own space, then it's then we have more time for the other working group and the other topics. Therefore,
Yeah, and I think like from my point of view, things that I could contribute to, we talked a little bit on Slack about those kind of things, but but I could also do stuff with it from like the Open GitOps perspective and bring Christian or whoever is going to be there. I think most of them is going to be there, so we can have several maintainers.
Perfect. Previously, I shared the document for the whole organizational stuff of our KubeConnect activities in the Zoom chat here. So we also proposed some kind of a schedule for the project meeting, but this is not set in stone at the moment. So if someone has better ideas or better topics to talk about, feel free to comment and yes, add things there however you want.
Yeah, I think let's read with what we want to do. I think every at least working group under tech app delivery should get some chance to talk to. We should have a dedicated sessions for projects to come in. It's a bit unfortunate that I think we should still do maybe at least some roadmap planning, ideally. So Jennifer, will you be traveling on that day?
Yes, I will come later, so I won't be on the 17th for this.
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking, I mean, even if you're not on site, if you could at least get you in remotely would be great. So we could adjust the schedule that if there is some slot where you might be available, at least via Zoom to get you into that meeting if you want to discuss roadmap, because you should definitely be there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I can go on online earlier in the day.
Should we talk about the booth a little bit?
Yes, we could.
I mean, the booth is, again, like, what's our objective there? I guess it's to support users, support projects, support standards. I guess there's the long tail of projects that don't have their own booth. Like, I don't know if there's folks here that might even be in this situation. You know, this is a place where we could list those, especially if you have people around, I guess. We could also talk about cross-project stuff. Obviously, this falls in my bucket, platforms and things where we're, you know, trying to rationalize how projects fit together. You know, I guess the idea would be both of those, you know, people could come talk to us if they want to talk about rationalizing the whole space, or if, you know, a project is not there and therefore we're supporting users. I did have an idea, you know, if we have some slideshows, especially from projects that aren't having their own booth, that want to, you know, a slide or two, we could run that the whole time.
Also about such things as the app definition thing. So when about the topics we as a tag are doing. So, but also I'm not sure how to put this on a slide.
You mean on a slide for the booth or on a slide
Yes.
to present it?
No, on a slide for the booth.
Just to let people know, here's what this booth is for. Like, if we have like a running slide deck or even just a list, like, here's 15 topics that we're trying to enable people to talk about here.
The challenge will be that you don't know when people actually show up. I think they're really relevant timings. The really relevant times are usually when you have like the evening events. During the day, people might stop by or might not stop by. That's why inviting projects to present, we should do it maybe in the way you did it the last time, actually, Josh. Like invite
I ran that little meetup.
Yes, I think that would be, the best, because then people would show up, because I want to avoid that people go there, present their project, and there's nobody there. They're not talking to anybody really. But if we have a couple of projects getting together, we could actually do it during one of the evening events where there's usually like food and drinks. Anyways, in the exhibition area, we invite some projects where they can briefly speak about it. I think you did a really great job the last time. So maybe having this format, and then during the day, it would just maybe be somebody being there and telling them what their delivery does, if they have a sandbox project, if they wanted to have some input or discuss some of the ongoing work we have. I would not have a slideshow of projects when the maintainers are not there or nobody from the project is there, but what would we say? What would we be talking about? Like, okay, this is project, but I can't tell you anything. So even if we have the booth at a full-time, that's
We
what
only
I
have
think would
the
make most sense.
half-time variant.
Okay, the half-time, but if you have the evenings, that's what I would be actually using it for. Having projects present there and
at the moment, we have one even-ish slot, so it seems like on Wednesday we have the slot between 10:30 and 4 p.m. So we don't have any evening slot because they were already booked out.
What does that mean? We can't, like, our booth will be taken over by somebody else?
Yes.
Oh,
So
Which
as
is pretty
all of us
standard,
have, as all of us have other duties too at KubeCon, I thought it would be better to take a part-time booth. Because I think it gets hard enough to staff these times.
yeah, but maybe really try to get like an event like this together. I think we don't have to force ourselves on like using it the entire time. We can, I think lunch breaks would work as well because people could grab lunch and we can have a discussion there. And like maybe have 2 or 3 slots that we're using where people are most likely going to be available, because they're obviously not going to be available during sessions. Some might be, but it's very unlikely, to be fair. In the breaks, there might be, but not during sessions. And having maybe like 2 or 3 like these meetups topic related, I think that's totally fine. And then maybe one on talk to Tag App Delivery about your sandbox project, and then we would have one talking about our activities, one where people can present their projects, and one slot which is app delivery related. I think that's already a lot for us to cover, to be fair.
if we do one thing
And if
Wednesday,
somebody-
one thing Thursday, maybe that would like at 1500 on Wednesday and 1500 on Thursday, we're gonna have an hour, 15-minute like meet up here. We're gonna have these 5 talks. Come join us. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think we shouldn't, because it's very unrealistic that we won't spend the entire time there, and it's also not very frankly not really worth our time, because if nobody is showing up, why spend time at the booth?
Yeah, but that like having like a meetup would be a valuable use of all of our time. It would, because you know, part of the goal is to all meet each other there and facilitate future work. So cool.
I like the idea of focused, like maybe shorter commitment, but it's focused with like, and people would be interested know that this is like an hour to do that in person.
Hey, folks that are missing this one will come to Chicago. That's my hometown. Well, I live here now, so next KubeCon.
I'll see what I can do.
Come visit my house. You can stay with me.
I need an excuse to
Oh,
go to
sorry.
Chicago. So that's kind of
Yeah, November is not so bad. It's starting to get cold.
I'll think I'll survive.
Are there still leaves for like the autumn? Nice.
It's just like you know, being from the Arctic, it's okay. I'll manage.
That's right. I forgot you're pretty far north, Robert. Yeah, is that it? So we talked to project meeting, the booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could what we could do would be at the booth that we do some kind of office hours for 1 hour or whatever. And the second part that we let them make some use case presentations, project presentations, and so on.
I mean,
And
yeah, just like we could, you know, as long as we have something very specific happening at specific times, it is possible for people to kind of just drop by and hang out there. So if people from Tag App Delivery, you know, go past the booth and kind of just hang around there for a while, if there's stuff that's, you know, you have some free time or just want to relax,
mhm.
you know, so it's kind of to just represent Tag App Delivery. I think that would be cool, but I like the idea of having specific talks happening at specific times, just because it makes it so there's so much stuff going on.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to see how my ADHD handle all of this, but I mean, we'll see if I go completely crazy.
I guess that's it for today. Then we got another 5 minutes of your time back. Thank you so much. Anything else, Thomas or Josh or some child? No. Okay, folks. Alois has left. Have a great day, everyone, and talk to you next time.
Right.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
online.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
bye.